Good evening, and welcome to Wednesday Matters. We call it that because Wednesday matters. It's real easy to chalk it off as hump day and the day when things go wrong, or you're halfway through the week and you wish it was Friday, or any one of a number of other things. So we kind of gather here on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock to discuss spiritual matters and how our spirituality can be relevant to our lives. So that's what we're all about. Welcome to Wednesday Matters. And I'm Dr. Marlene Morris. That's not a medical doctor, that's a spiritual doctor. And, um, and I'm here to address whatever issues may be coming up in your life that are getting in the way of you having a spectacular life. A spiritually centered life that works. A life in which you are healthy, wealthy, wise, happy, all of those things. And I believe that we can get there, we can all get there through the use of prayer. So that's what I'm all about, and that's why those of us that are here are here. So welcome. We'd love to have you here with us. If you get a chance, put your name in the chat box and let us know you're here, or just say hi, and and we'll get on with it. Happy Wednesday, Lainey. Glad that you're here. Glad that you're here. Happy Wednesday's gonna be a better day now. How about that? I like that idea. I like that when we get together, things just keep getting better. Bonjour, Jennifer. Bonjour. Good evening. How do you say good evening in French?
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Of course that is it. Of course it is. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. S-O-I-R. Yes?
Yes.
I took 2 years of Spanish and 2 years of French almost simultaneously. And I took French 2 and Spanish 1 at the same time. And to this day, there are words that I don't know whether they're French or Spanish. I just couldn't do 3 years of French. I just couldn't. So here we are. What's going on in your lives? How are things going? What can we do to support you in prayer? Be sure and put that into the chat box at some point tonight if there is something, because that's what we're here for. We love to support you in prayer and look forward to doing that, but we can't read minds.
That's next year.
Next year's mind reading?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Next year's mind reading. This year, we still can't read minds. And if I could see you in person, I could probably tell things, but it doesn't work this way. So you need to tell me what I can do to support you, and I'll do that. Guten Tag. Jennifer. Oh, now she's getting multicultural. I'm impressed. I can't even remember how to say it in Spanish now. Oh, my mind is not what it once was. Better in many ways, not so great in some others. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. I did better in Spanish than I did in French. I did. I got an A in Spanish. Teacher loved me.
Buenas noches todos.
Buenos noches todos. Everyone.
Good accent.
Everyone.
Great.
I used to speak Spanish with a slightly Castilian accent because I was dating a Cuban at that point in time, which I think is why the Spanish teacher loved me, because he was married to a Cuban and he loved the accent, which has kind of a lisp to it. Got me a good grade, made my life easy.
Okay, repeat after me. Kalo.
Kalo.
Apolgivma.
Apolgivma. What did I just
said
say?
it in Greek. Good evening.
Oh,
Greek.
good grief. Now I'm speaking Greek. It's all Greek to me.
Kalispera is easier. Kalispera.
Kalispera? What does that mean?
Good evening. And Kalinikta is good night.
What language are we speaking now?
Greek.
What was the other one then?
Greek. But it was the formal.
Oh, okay.
Kalispera is to your group.
Kalispera.
And then when you sign off, you go Kalinikta.
Oh, Lainey got an A in Latin.
Oh, wow.
I'm impressed. I am very impressed. I never decided to take on Latin. I did, however, take French 1 in a Catholic school. I probably would have been better off with Latin. I can't remember her name. Sister.
Okay, so here it
Somebody.
is in Latin. Bonum vesperum.
Bonum vesperum?
Bonum vesperum.
Bonum vesperum.
There you go.
Does that sound about right, Lainey?
Latin for good evening. Vespers, bonum, good.
Vesperum. Good Vespers.
There you go.
Okay.
Cool.
What you can learn on the internet these days is positively mind-blowing, isn't it? I think so. Blows my mind. Lots and lots and lots to learn. So much information out there. So much to realize you don't know anything about. Which is why I think it's better to specialize. I really do. I really do. I think it is better for all of us to decide what we're really good at. For me, it was not languages. In spite of the A from my Spanish teacher. Languages just kind of go over my head. I like English. I do reasonably well with English. But foreign languages, I don't have the ear for them. Both languages I could read really well. But if you started speaking in that language and went anywhere near regular speaking speed, I got lost real quick. Let's see. Okay, Jennifer did Spanish in middle school and a semester French before the teacher quit. German in high school. Now I'm intrigued. Oh, Irish, Gaelic, yes. We also took some classes in Chinese a few years ago. I remember nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we would stop for dinner on the way to class at the local Chinese restaurant because that seemed appropriate. And the waitress there was Chinese and spoke fluent Chinese. And she was always testing us, which was kind of fun. But I remember nothing. So there you go. Senior citizen language. Yeah, I'll be getting there soon enough. Right now I'm busy settling for sounding reasonably intelligent and like I know what I'm talking about in one language. Let me know if I succeed. Oh, no, don't, because I would be so disappointed if you had said no. I'll pout. We don't want me pouting. We do not want me pouting. I want you to see a tarot card. I have it here. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. Not specifically it, but I'm in reference to something else. It's the Chariot card. Let's see if I can get it even closer for you. There we go. There. See the Chariot here in his fancy dancy chariot? And he's pulled, traditionally this card has two sphinxes. Sphinxi? Sphinx. I think sphinx is both singular and plural. And they are the horses that pull the chariot. Well, the sphinx that pull the chariot, specifically. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I just wanted you to see it up close and personal, in case I forget to show it to you a little bit later. So, why don't I get on with what I'm going to talk about so that you'll know why I showed you the Chariot card. Hang on, it's got a purpose. Jennifer says, what's that? You'll find out very soon. So let me get on with what I was going to talk about, and then we'll go from there. I have a quote for you to consider tonight. It's a little lengthy, but not too bad. It's from the History of the Peloponnesian War, written in 431 BC, Book 1, Section 1. No, I have not read the whole thing, nor do I intend to do so. Thucydides, an Athenian, wrote the history of the war between the Peloponnesians and the Athenians. And he began his story at the very moment, according to him, that the war broke out, believing it was going to be a great war and a memorable one, which of course it was and is. He writes, with reference to the narrative of events, I did not trust even my own impressions. But it rests partly on what I saw myself and partly on what others saw for me. My conclusions have cost me some work from the lack of agreement between the accounts of the same occurrences by different witnesses, arising sometimes from faulty memory and sometimes from undue partiality for one side or the other. The absence of romance, he writes, I love this. This could have been written this week. The absence of romance will, I fear, distract somewhat from its interest. But I shall be content if it is judged useful by those who desire an exact knowledge of the past as an aid in interpreting the future. This history, he writes, has been composed to be an everlasting possession, not the showpiece of an hour. Well, friends, his history of the war has become what the author desired. An everlasting possession. A classic. Because the author did his work not just taking at face value the accounts of differing witnesses. So, here's my question for you tonight. What's your impression of what is going on in the world around you? Where'd you get it? Who'd you get it from? Let me be even more specific. What's your impression of yourself and your progress in life so far? Where'd you get it? Who'd you get it from? How do we get our mental impressions? From others, certainly. From our parents. Absolutely. From our own experiences, what we see and what we think we've seen. We draw conclusions. And then those conclusions become our impression of life, or our impression of a specific area of life. Plato wrote, and this is all going to sound very familiar to those of you who have studied the science of mind. Imagine that there exists in the mind of man a block of wax, the gift of memory. And when we wish to remember, we hold the wax to our perception, and the wax receives the impression of what it is we wish to remember, just as from the seal of a ring. And we remember and know what is imprinted, as long as the image lasts. Got it? It's like Ernest Holmes saying, the universe receives a direct impress of our thought and acts upon it, doesn't it? So here's another question for you. What's your impression of God? Where'd you get it? Who'd you get it from? Yeah, well, some of you might have. Would you be willing to consider a new impression if it could enhance your experience of living? If it could lift your spirits? If it could heal your body? If it could mend your heart? If it could inspire your actions? If it could transform your life? Stay with me for a few minutes. Consider God not as an anthropomorphic being, and not as the zealous ruler of heaven or the retired creator of the universe, but rather as a force. A force which is at the same time creator, creation, and the created. Creator, first cause, spirit. Creation, the medium through which it works, the power that makes things happen, and incidentally makes things. Ernest Holmes called it soul. And then the created, the effects, the way it shows up in our lives, the body of the universe and the form and substance of our individual lives. Spirit, soul, body. Creator, creation, created. It is the business of the soul, that medium in the middle, to reflect the images that spirit, first cause, creator, casts into it. That's its job, to simply reflect that back out into life. It cannot, it does not ever argue. It is compelled to receive the slightest impression of the creative thought and create from it. And while that is true on a cosmic soul universe, seems like such a small word anymore. Cosmos, cosmological level, spiritual level. In our individual lives, we replicate the same pattern. Our thoughts are our connection to creation. Our thoughts in our lives are first cause, creator. What we think, we create because of the connection, because of the sacred link to creation. And there is no limit to what creation can or will do for us, in spite of the fact that we often think there is. No limit other than the limits of our own belief. Because we're dealing with a law older than the wisdom of Plato. That's pretty old. and far more reaching than the histories of Thucydides. Our belief impresses itself upon the wax of the universe and gives it form. It's as though our thought creates a mold, as Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind, and then we pour the universal substance into it. Think of Jello in a Jello mold. And then once it gets good and solid, it's an image, isn't it, of that which created the mold. Every time we think into this receptive medium, which receives and casts the image of our thought into our world. When we stop to realize how subtle some thoughts are, how unconsciously we think negative thoughts, how easily we are influenced by outside events and the opinions of others, we begin to see how we perpetuate existing conditions. And as we think, we reproduce false impressions and go from bad to worse. Or we form new ideas and beliefs and go from glory to glory. It's all about thinking. It's all about the power of thought. Conscious thought is the starting point. I know for some of you this feels like going back to basics. It is. I have my reasons. Ernest Holmes says trained thought is more powerful than untrained thought. Since the awareness that thought is power gives that thought added power. See, we forget sometimes, don't we? We forget that our thoughts are powerful. And the awareness, the coming into consciousness, the waking up to the fact that we have perhaps not been thinking along the right channels, then gives our thought even added power because we can change our minds. We can go from negative to positive. Oops, there's me thinking that. And I don't think that way anymore. The receptive medium, the mold, the soul, the law, only knows how to respond, how to form the image of stuff or experiences or life from the thought that is poured into it. It can't do anything else. It can't say, that's not good for you, I'm not going to make it. It's taking instruction from you. What we need to remember, what will help us if we remember, is to realize that this is a fluid process. That's the really good news. Honest, it is. We need to keep considering new ideas and new possibilities. We need to keep making new impressions. The universe never says, sorry, you're done for the day. Or the life. This is what you created, this is what you've got, you can't change it. It doesn't do that. As you begin to think in new ways, new things begin to happen. Ultimately, those new impressions become creative impressions in the stuff, the wax of the universe, and lasting stuff in the reality of our lives. So here are some ideas you might want to consider for making your life wonderful, or more wonderful if it's already pretty darn good. First, you have to know that there really is nothing, no matter how it may appear, no matter what your previous personal experience, there is nothing that stands in the way of what you most desire. If you can think it, you can create it. If we supply the impression, the thought, the mold, spirit will form it. We just have to know that our belief, our faith, Our thoughts have power. We have to know that even if we have doubts, we can overcome them and create the belief necessary to make our desire real. It's kind of, I believe, God, help thou my unbelief. Just recognize that there is some unbelief at work in you and begin to think in a positive way that that can be overcome. If we give Spirit a positive, constructive thought form to work with, well, there it is. Positive and constructive. If we give it a negative and undesirable thought form, well, there that is. Why would you want that? And if we give it no form at all, I'm just not going to think about that. We get no particular form. And we get to live wishy-washy, no particular form lives. And if we think this is all hogwash and it won't work for us, it won't. Not because it couldn't have, but because that's what we believed. We can't just hope it's going to work. If you're praying and crossing your fingers at the same time, you're hoping. Hope creates an impression of hope. And that's not proactive. Oh, hope isn't bad. Holmes wrote that it's better than despair, and I suppose that's lovely. It moves us out of abject knowing that nothing is going to work. But it's a subtle illusion. It's an unconscious compromise, Holmes said, that creates equal space for yes and no, for positive and negative. It's a great maybe producer. It creates an area of doubt, and in the space for doubt, nothing much constructive happens. So, first of all, step one, claim what you desire positively and know that nothing stands in the way of that and nothing stands against it. Okay? Claim it positively. Claim it as though you already have it, as though it's already a done deal. And know that nothing is going to stand in the way of that. And then the second step is to move in the direction of your desire. Here comes the tarot card. There's a card in the deck that is all about what I was just talking about. The Chariot. It shows a powerful person standing within a powerful vehicle, which is tethered to two Sphinx who are simply waiting for direction. The card implies that the person is powerful enough. The conveyance is perfectly equipped for the journey. And simply put, the universe has your back. It, the Sphinx, has the wisdom to take you where you want to go. All you have to do is tell it where that is. We just need to take our place, make our desire clear, and then move in that direction. If we don't get up and do something, what we're saying to the creative power of the universe is either, I don't really believe anything is going to happen, so why bother? Or, life, do it for me, and I'll believe in it or act upon it when I see it coming. Well, good for you. Problem is, it doesn't work that way. Look, when we really believe, we act on our belief, don't we? If I really believe it's going to rain, I get out my umbrella. I pull out my raincoat. If I don't believe it's going to rain, then I do nothing. And if I do believe but I ignore what I believe, then I get wet. It rains on the enlightened and the unenlightened alike. If I believe I will be inspired, I buy the book or I listen to the speaker. If I don't, I stay in bed or I watch some mindless television and nothing changes. But if I believe and get out of bed and pick up the book or put on the tape, it is because I believe that I will read or hear something that will inspire me or kick me in my butts. But I can't, but I don't, but I... And if I believe that is true, if I believe that I will be inspired, it will come to pass. Life is neither going to do it to you or going to do it for you without you. Then life will do it through you when you believe and back your belief with action. And that's the way it works. Brother Wayne Teasdale, a lay monk who lived in a monastery for more than 15 years and taught at Columbia College and DePaul University and the Catholic Theological Union, busy boy, taught the concept of interspirituality. And his message was drawn, as was Ernest Holmes, from the essence of the world's religious traditions. And it was this. He writes, being a monk in the world requires embracing a spirituality of engagement, not withdrawal. Not a spirituality where you are off in a cave somewhere praying, but involved in life. I don't denigrate, he wrote, that Jesus and other great spiritual figures went off for periods by themselves. There are times when you are meant to do that. And there are even times when there are those who are meant to do that for their entire lives. But I'm telling everyone in the world that there is a social dimension in their lives that they need to be concerned about. They can't leave it to others to figure it out for them. They need to be engaged spiritually. In other words, I believe what he was saying is that whatever it is that we want or need or desire or pray for, isn't going to happen without us both believing in it and working for it. Our life needs our direct participation. Again, in the words of Ernest Holmes, people often say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make a choice. We must realize that there is an intelligence within us that does know. This guidance is true everywhere, for everyone. It was just as true 10,000 years ago, before the advent of Christianity, as it will be 10,000 years hence. We would do well to listen to our inner voice. It is the voice of creation. It is the voice of creation within us, and it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom which the soul craves. When we learn to trust that voice, to step up and step out on its urgings, everything will change. Spirit works by responding. We need to put something out there for it to respond to. We need to prime the pump if we want a more successful life, if we want a healthier body, if we want more prosperity, more love, more appreciation, more whatever. If we want that, then we have to start believing and acting on that belief. No more lip service to our dreams. No more hoping it will work out. Dante tells us that above the portal to hell were the words, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." I can't help but believe that the same words might adorn the portal to heaven. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. Embrace belief. Embrace knowing and trusting. For eye has not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart or dreams of humanity the things which God has prepared for those who love and believe. And so, because we believe, it is. So, my friends, was that a lesson in basics? Yes. Or a reminder? I hope. See, the truth about all of this, I believe, is that it is so incredibly simple, we tend to think it can't work. Too easy. Gotta be a struggle involved somewhere. Gotta be difficult. No, it doesn't. Your most important physical act, short of your heart beating, probably, that you actually participate in, is breathing. Simple. Inhale the air. Exhale what's left over that you don't need. And it's factory installed. You didn't earn it. You didn't have to go to school for it. It came with the package, the one you're moving around in. Simple. Breathing. Simple. Unless something's really wrong with you, in which case then it takes some other things to get you going. Jennifer says, I don't catch myself in the act, need a buzzer or something. I talked about buzzers a couple of weeks ago. Do I need to replay that one? Do you need to replay that one? Go back and play it again. Thank you, Jefferson. You know, sometimes every once in a while I think we just need to go back over the basics and remind ourselves that it doesn't have to be complicated. We just need to remember. And yeah, you know, if a buzzer would help. I've suggested that some of you just install a mini-me on one shoulder or the other. Doesn't matter which one, I don't think. Something goes, is that what you really want? I like the basics. Oh, Heidi, Facebook would not let you in. Have you been naughty? Shame on Facebook. I'm glad you're here now, though. Thank you. That couldn't have been fun sitting out there trying. Yeah, Jennifer, it kind of felt like Wednesday Night Live to me, too. It was always a good time. I just talked about whatever was on the top of my head. Or what I overheard at dinner. Or something that had hit me during the day that I wanted to share. You know, my deal on Wednesday nights back in those days, some of you will remember, my deal with myself was that I would prepare Sunday's talk, mostly because it was two, sometimes three services that I would want to have. If people ran into each other afterwards, it would sound like they'd been to the same thing, sort of, kind of. But Wednesday, my deal with me and God was no notes, just whatever came off the top of my head. And I loved that. The whole idea for me was that if at some point the dog ate my homework on the way to church, I had the confidence that I could talk without notes. And I did. It worked for almost 20 years. That's a long time to test a theory. Yeah, spiritual improv, that's exactly what it was. Heidi won over Facebook. Good for you, babe. That's not easy to do. Our former president didn't win. You're in a very special class. Spiritual improv, I like that. Now you've got my mind going, Heidi. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that, but I'm going to do something with it because I like it a lot. Well, you know, we could still do that on Wednesdays, couldn't we? We could still do that. Jefferson said, you don't know what I'm reading, do you? Jefferson said, I loved it when you would ask who had a question and then you took off. Mm-hmm. I'd love to do that, but that means you guys would have to come loaded with questions. That way you do the work for me. I mean, give me a subject and I can talk. We all know that I can talk. And you might have to have more than one question because, you know, it's entirely possible that the first question would be an easy one and you never know. Oh, Lainey, thank you, darling. Dana, who is healing, and I meant to check up on her today and I didn't, so I can't give you fully an update. But she's healing from her surgery. Was a Wednesday night person first and eventually worked her way to Sunday. Spiritual nutritionists. I like that. Jefferson, you're really thinking tonight. I like that too. If we keep our brain engaged, if we keep saying, if things aren't working, instead of making ourselves wrong, just maybe say, what am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? If God is all that there is, and it's all that I am, and I can prove that in my life, then what am I forgetting in this moment that is creating this don't want it thing in my life? Okay, so I have an idea. Wait a minute. Hold on, I have some notes here. That's not it. That's not it. There it is. I found it. I found it. I'm considering, and I want your feedback. Um, what I'm thinking of is changing the format on Sunday to something a little bit more structured, not a lot more structured, but a little bit more structured. Um, Opening with a group prayer or affirmation or something along those lines that we all say together, and I can have it posted, or the technical department can post it. Um, but something that we all say and do together. And then a little bit of chit chat, but just a minute or two, not on and on and on. Sunday, talking Sunday here. And then a minute or two of updates: who's healing, who's doing what success stories do we have to tell, good news, maybe something that's going on at Centers for Spiritual Living that we all need to know about. Um, and then just launch into the talk. Um, and then something where you guys participate as well, perhaps. Like in that place where we used to have practitioners do a meditation or a thought for the day. Here's the thought for the day. Short minute or so. Um, Readings and thoughts from you guys. What's your favorite quote? What's your most inspiring thought? Something inspiring that hopefully has something to do with what we're talking about. And I could, if you want to do that, I can put that information out ahead of time so that it all ties together. Um, and then a closing prayer. If you have specific prayer requests, we can ask you and who's ever listening to put them in the chat box if they choose, um, or message me during the week. It doesn't have to be on Sunday. They don't have to expose themselves in public if they don't want to. And then add our prayer into, prayer for what's going on in the world. More specific things, world conditions. This week, we might pray for the Palestine-Israel connection, or lack of same. See where I'm going? Is it making sense? My notes feel pretty good to me, and I think there's a reasonably good outline there. Let me know what you think. Ooh, yes, we will absolutely pray for Chris. I think what they're saying is that people are getting kicked off, CAG, which I know is a Facebook issue. It probably has nothing to do with us specifically.
Go to Zoom.
Well, we can go to Zoom. It's just harder to find. Here's a thought, something else for you to consider. If we decided to go to Zoom, I could post here, where people are used to coming, to the link to the Zoom talk. And would that work? Would we lose people? Would we maybe gain more people? I don't know. you want to do a reading, how do you join live? Yes, see, there's little thingies there that I haven't quite worked out yet in my head. If we go to Zoom, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. I'm just a little afraid if we go to Zoom, we lose people. But maybe not. Do you like the idea at all? Do you not like the idea? Um, Hi, Laura. Thanks for jumping in. Zoom might be the answer, huh? And if I could post ahead of time a link to the Zoom meeting. Let me practice that a little bit and see how complicated that becomes. And it would probably fix the getting kicked off Facebook problem as well. Gag says if you on Facebook, if you read it in your home, no one will hear you, but that's true, isn't it? Yeah, that would have to be a Zoom moment or something similar to it. So let me know what you think about that, would you? In the next, over the next couple of days, give me your feedback. And let's see. I know the Unity Church does Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. They do them all at the same time?
I think so.
Let me look into that.
Call Smitty.
Oh, well, that's brilliant because he's probably the one who sets it all up.
Call Smitty.
Call Smitty. Smitty is the musical director at Unity Ventura, and he's a dear. He's a Renaissance man. I think he can do everything. It's just amazing to me how much he can handle. So maybe Zoom's going to be our way to go. Heidi, I don't know that I would ever mute you. Well, then again, I might. Like, should mute me sometimes. Wouldn't be able to it because yeah, I could send out invites to all of you who are regulars, just to make absolutely sure I have your email address. Yeah, Lainey, I would not want to leave you out. So if we could plan a date to participate, that would be great. What time of day does the La Crescenta Church meet? That's just off the top of my head. I can look it up. Yeah, we could send as a reminder, we could send an invitation out to all of the regulars. But for the non-regulars, now, first of all, we would want you to share your link. Please share your link with friends. And just create something that looks a little bit more like a service, a little bit more structured, so it doesn't just babble on and on and on, which I know I'm perfectly capable of doing. And so that it feels more welcoming to new people. That's my whole thought. One of you, and you know who you are, gratefully shared with me that you had invited several people, but that they came and listened and left. And I think probably because, we spend the first 15, 20 minutes just chit-chatting and talking about whatever's on the top of our brains, and sometimes it's cats and dogs and pets and problems, and that's not welcoming to someone who's never been with us before because they feel it's cliquish and they're left out. Now, the person who told me that did not put in the cliquish part, but I can draw that for myself. Um, and then part of me says we keep Wednesday pretty much the way it is, but also try to structure it so that it's a little bit more welcoming. And I would invite you, please, I would welcome any suggestions on how to do that on Wednesday as well. I like that it is less formal, more casual. I like that very much. I think it's a nice contrast to something more structured. But again, we want to have it open and welcoming for people who aren't here yet. Because if you guys are going to invite people, I want to create something that makes them feel welcome when they get here so that your efforts aren't wasted. Okay? Oh, Heidi. Okay, Delaney, got it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Um, Downside good, she's thinking. I love this. Thank you. Okay, Laney, that's funny. Well, just kind of. A little extra lipstick. You wouldn't have to wear lipstick, Jefferson, unless you wanted to. Um, However, you did used to do wardrobe, and I imagine you've got stuff that would look very presentable. Um, what I've found watching the Unity service, which is live on Zoom for sure, um, is that the the host, who is also, for all intents and purposes, the practitioner, gets cleaned up and looks pretty cool. Of course, they tape everything in advance too, so they're getting presentable and looking really good on Wednesday. The people who are just watching the service, anything goes. I swear there are some people there in their jammies, and because all you see is like this much of them most of the time. You wear a smile. It's enough. Yes, you can use a still photo. Yes, you can. Or what we do occasionally, because usually on Sunday morning when I'm on Unity, I like to listen and make sure that it worked out all right and that it fit with all of the other pieces in the service. I just don't use video. So they know I'm there, but it just says Marlene Morris on a black background. And you can come in on audio and not come in on visual. And the reason I use the black background is because I'm usually not ready for my own thing at noon. So, the hair isn't in place and the makeup's not on. Well, you've got it. Yeah, nice top. Brush your hair, you're done. No, it doesn't hurt to do that periodically. I kind of like, well, you all know me. I don't like to look in the mirror until I have my makeup on. That doesn't work, but I would prefer it was already there and not surprise me. Anyway, it's time to close and I want to pray. So if you don't mind me going overtime a little bit, let's do that. And I'm going to include the world and maybe a new format And Chris, is it Christopher? Probably is Christopher, unless it's Christian.
And Dana.
And Dana. Okay, Ayla's Chris, as opposed to my Chris, your Chris. There's lots of Chris's. I wonder if that's the number one name right now. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, okay, let's pray. And close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If not, just soft focus. You know what to do. Do what works for you. Whatever it takes to bring your focus within, to your power place, to where you're aware of the presence of Spirit within you. Spirit that is in all, for all, is all. God is. That. Creation. The force for good in the universe. And I accept now that since it is in all, as all, through all, it is in all of us and through all of us, and expresses itself as all of us. Wow. And because I know that that is true, I absolutely know that that is true. I know that the words we speak, the claims that we make for life, for the world, for individuals, for ourselves, must create according to what we speak. Must. And I believe that with all of my heart and all of my mind and all of my spirit. And so I claim tonight that the world is deeply engaged in peace. That where there seemed to be no way, there are now ways. Where there seemed to be no means, there are now means. Where there seemed to be no opening, now the doors are thrown wide open. And peace prevails. There are those at work now creating world peace, and we support and uphold them and know that their work is absolutely fruitful throughout the world. Throughout the world. In big and small ways, in countries, in communities, everywhere. The workers for peace prevail. And I know, too, that bodies are healed because we claim that, because we say these words, and because we believe with all of our hearts and all of our minds and all of our spirits. I know Dana's body is healing and strong, and she is amazing, her doctors, with the rapidness of her recovery and the ease with which she is doing it. I know that. And I know that in spite of the weather, the roads are safe and clear. I know that Ayla's Chris, who is becoming fast our Chris, has a safe journey. From Louisiana to Texas, in spite of the rain, his journey is safe. He is secure. He is watched over. He is protected. The path is made clear. And I know that each of us knows exactly how to create Sunday's experience as well as Wednesday's experience in a way that welcomes people and uplifts and inspires them. We know. We have the wisdom, we have the way, we have the means, and we have the willingness to make this happen. And our minds are filled with great ideas, and our hearts are opening to embrace others. So much is healed, so much is well. We recognize tonight that hate is passing away, and that love is taking its place as the ruler of the universe. And with grateful hearts, grateful hearts, grateful hearts, and clear minds, we simply say, and so it is, and let it be so. Is that our closing song? Okay. Don't forget to check it out. There are brilliant things going on behind the scenes. Know that. Good night. I love you. Email me, Marlene Morris at sbcglobal.net, with your ideas. And let's do it, shall we? I love you. See you Sunday. Bye-bye.